Dr. Denise Ejo, the CEO of Cornwood Cancer Foundation. I would like to welcome you to our Cornwood Cancer Foundation page. Our goal is to create an awareness of the challenges, support and guidance experienced in managing cancer care for sufferers, family, carers and friends. To engage with us, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Click our notification bell.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Good morning to you. Good morning to you not in the studio. Thank you. Thank you for another day. I think we're having a good discussion today, actually. But I'm going to start today's discussion on a very, very interesting note because sometimes it's always good to be as honest as we are when we're talking about this cancer journey. I think 2 weeks ago I was on here, wasn't I? Our last session. And I thought I'm going to share with you that very experience, I had just had brain surgery. So I'm sitting in front of you again with just having brain surgery less than 4 weeks ago. I am saying to everybody going through cancer, together we fight, together we win. So please, let's all try. Let's all do the right thing. That is what this is all about. And so Cornwood Cancer Foundation is really driving this. With AIT, as you can see, without AIT, we're not going to get very far. Today in the house, we have Dr. Kehinde Ololade, and he's an oncology and a nuclear medicine specialist. And he's also the owner and CEO of the Jacaranda Medical Center, based in Lagos. He was trained in the University of Lagos and in South Africa, and his interest is actually in cancer care and solid tumors, which are breast tumors, prostates, and apparently central nervous systems. Interesting. I'm learning along the way. So we're all learning. I'm a doctor of book, not of medicine. I always say this. So Dr. Ololade, thank you very much for joining us. And we're going to kick us off very quickly because I have quite a few questions. See, this PET scan machine is one thing that I have always found very fascinating, and the reason was when I first got diagnosed, one of the last tests I had to do to confirm that I did have cancer was the PET scan results. Okay, so that is why this is very important, and having it in Nigeria now means a big thing for us in our space in the country. Okay, so thank you for joining us. First question to you, what is a PET scan and what is it used for?
Okay, thank you very much. A PET scan is like an imaging machine, but it has an advantage that it goes a step further. It images at molecular level. So it can tell us that there's a tumor there, or there's an activity going on in the body, and that activity consumes a lot of energy, particularly a lot of sugar. That's why PET-CT, whatever we inject into the body is colored or is painted or is traced by what we call a radio tracer. With that radio tracer, the machine is able to pick the radio tracer and show increased activity. What we know is that cancers have increased more activity than normal cells of the body, so they consume more sugar. In the process of consuming more sugar, and the sugar has been traced or has been laced by an ink, so that ink is now picked by the machine as increased activity to point us to the fact that that particular area of the body has more activity. Definitely there's an active disease going on there.
Wow. You just thrown me off right now with your whole discussion about sugar. Because I'm sitting here taking steroids, and steroids cause sugar, and you're telling me now about this? Oh no! Okay, let's go to the next one. Are there any differences between the MRI scan and the CT scans?
Well, the difference is in CT scan and in MRI, they will tell us that there is there's something is there, like a tumor or like a swelling or like an inflammation. But what they will not be able to tell us is whether the tumor is active or is inactive, whether it's alive or it's dead. Now, a dead tumor or a dead swelling or a dead inflammation will not be able to consume or make use of glucose. Whereas in PET-CT will tell us that it's a combination of the PET particularly part will tell us this thing is actually active, it's living, it's consuming something. You know, a dead tissue will not be able to consume anything. So it will pick it as something is there that is not active. Now, and that helps with able to do to say this thing is actually living or it's not living, or it's actually metabolic, as we call it scientifically, or otherwise. Whereas in the PET or the MRI, it just tell us there's something there, but we'll not be able to tell us is it what we are looking at or what is there. Is it actually living or is it not living?
Please, can I ask a question again? I'm going to go back to what does PET stand for?
PET is position emission tomogram. Now, what it does is that the tracer, or what is used to call the sugar, gives or breaks down and emits some particular kinds of what we call the positron. Now, when that positron is emitted, the donut-shaped machine that the individual lies and goes under picks it, has some detectors. Those detectors will pick those messages from the tracer and to analyze it with the computer to give an image of increased activity. So if the individual has a swelling or a tumor that is not active, there will be no emission of that radiation, and inadvertently it will not pick as if it's normal part of the body. And some parts of the body have active increased activity normally, like the brain, like the heart, like the liver, like the kidneys. They have increased activity normally. So those are things that, but when you see those increased activities, other parts of the body, like the axilla, for example, or like the breast, or like you see it in the chest and the lungs, then you are bothered that definitely there is a tumor or something going on there.
Okay. So you've answered that question now. Okay. So what? Okay. Therefore, that means that there are advantages of the PET-CT, or there should be advantages based on what you just explained on the PET-CT. And so, what other imaging modalities are there that we need to be thinking about with the advantages of this
PET-CT?
Yeah.
Okay, now, you know, the good advantages of PET-CT is that, number one, it can be used to actually do some sort of staging. Now, there's what we call the PET solid tumor. You use it to assess, we call it the PESIS. You use it to do like an assessment. If you commence a treatment, and you want to know whether that treatment is working, particularly those that are taking chemotherapy. Once they take about 3-4 chemotherapies, they go for a PET-CT. Now, the PET-CT, what it will tell us? It will, number one, it will tell us whether the individual is responding. If the individual is responding, the amount of tracer uptake should go down. If the tracer uptake does not go down and it's increasing, it's a sign that that individual is not responding to the treatment. If the individual is responding very well to the treatment, the amount of tracer uptake should go down or should disappear outrightly. Now, that also helps us to be able to prognosticate, to tell us that this individual will do well on chemo. This one is not going to do well on chemo. It also helps us that if there are hidden cancers in some part of the body, what we call carcinoma of unknown origin, because the images from the brain all the way to the foot, it will help us to identify any hidden tumors lurking anywhere. Also, if we want to do staging, for example, it's like a one-size-fits-all. When the sugar tracer and radioactive sugar tracer is injected into the body, it will go straight to all over the body from head to toe, and every increased activity part of the body will show increased tracer uptake, and with that we'll know that we have to actually investigate that whether the individual needs more treatment, or even even in some cases when we have to change the chemotherapy, if one chemotherapy is not working and want to change to another type of chemotherapy, then it also helps us, it guides us.
Okay, I'm going to come back on this question, and I'm going to come back on this question, but I want to ask another question. I'll come back on it because I'm looking at it, and as you would appreciate, I live with this, and I've been with it for 5-6 years, and I've had 3 major brain surgeries. So I'm actually very concerned. I've only ever had one PET scan. I would really freak out if I was having to have this scan quite regularly, because ordinarily having let me just state my question. Ordinarily having the PET's ordinary CT scan and MRI, which I have to take every 3 months to make sure we can keep an eye on what is going on, because the disease is there. If I have to be aware of that and then have the PET CT scan, which is actually the most emotionally challenging test to do, because that is the one that says, bam, this is where you are, quite regularly. What is the effect of somebody's mental health? Because for us on Common Cancer Foundation, we want a balance. And the balance for a cancer patient's mental health is very, very, very fundamental.
Absolutely.
I actually warm up this question because you told me immediately you said that. I was like, whoa.
No, you see, the truth is that, if you are embarking on a journey, you also want to be aware whether you're making progress or you're not making progress. Yeah. Because, for example, what you commit, the emotions, the finance, the out of work hours that you commit to the treatment of cancer is so enormous that it will be a bit challenging if you have to wait for about 5-6 months before you know whether you're actually making progress or you're not making any progress at all. So, so there's certain times, there's some cancers, for example, some lymphomas and some very increased activity cancers that immediately you give the chemo. For example, there's what we call the gastrointestinal stromal tumor, which is GIST. Within 2 weeks, the tumor will have markedly reduced activity that will tell you that, yes, I'm winning this battle. And it will help emotionally. If you hear things like scientifically proven, not just the doctor just said, I'm doing well, but I have an imaging evidence to buttress the fact that I'm doing well. So what we normally do is that at entry to stage, in the middle to assess response, determine whether treatment is doing well, or whether we have any residual disease, or whether we have any remnant, or whether we are clean. So if an individual is to be said has been cancer cured, for example, one of the ways to establish that is when they do a PET CT at the end of all the treatment. Yes, you understand, they say that this individual is clean. There's no activity, there's no metabolic activity, there's no increased tracer uptake in any part of the body. In that case, the individual will not be able to say that if the individual does that test, after about a year, they have another repeat. Once in a year, a 45 to 50 minutes test once in a year will be enough to give them the required zest and zeal to go on with life.
On a PET scan?
On a PET scan, yes.
Wow. Okay, how long does it take to for the procedure to do the thing? I think.
Well, the preparation for the procedure. Okay. Yes. The preparation for the procedure normally takes like the day before. We normally advise the patient that the day before you must reduce the activity. You must not be not be nuptial. You must as much as possible eat early the previous evening, and you're not going to take anything till the next morning except maybe water. And then when they come in the morning, want to check the sugar level and to be sure that the sugar level has a way of interfering with the tracer uptake, because the tracer uptake has the sugar basis, particularly for those that are doing what we call the FDG, which is fluorodeoxyglucose. That's like the active glucose type. Now, if that has been done, then in the morning they're injected with a tracer. When they're okay, the tracer will give them, they go to a dim room for about an hour, they rest, they recline. After about an hour, we expect that the tracer uptake will have gone circulated around the body. Once the tracer uptake has circulated around the body, they go onto the machine. They are made a bit relaxed on the machine. Their legs are comfortable and all that. They wear loose clothing, and they must be off all their trinkets and their chains and all that, so that it doesn't interfere with the imaging of the machine. And also, that will also, immediately after that is done, then the technologist on the machine or the doctor will look at the initial images, and when it realizes that there's minimal movement of during the test, then the individual can be asked to go, and the reports will be interpreted and sent to the consulting physician.
Okay. I'm on memory lane, you see, and I'm trying to make sure that the viewers understand how it works, because the PET scan is not, to me, I don't think, I say it's very serious. By the time you're going on having that, it's very serious. And I'm also very mindful of the fact that it's very, very expensive. So
absolutely. So
I'm coming back to where I'm coming to now, because that's where I'm going. Knowing what we know, right, and the cost of, firstly, that we do have the PET CT scan available in Nigeria. We are very grateful for that, for the organization that has brought it in. That is one step in the right direction, and that we appreciate. One thing that is something I think we have to bring to the forefront at this point is the fact that because of the cost of this particular scan, the impact the government has to come into it. We're not in a position to be talking about what government will or will not do, but we're hoping that the government will hear that a lot of us live with this disease and are struggling. And it's not easy, especially ordinarily just living life without talking about the chemo that you have to pay for, all the other things to go with the cancer journey, and then on top of it have the CT scan test. The PET CT, sorry, to do. So when I'm looking at it from that, you are an organization that government does theirs, private government doesn't have, so private does. What are the don't give me quotes exact, but at least give us an idea what we're expecting. Because my heart hurts, my chest hurts when I think about that, because I know how much it costs. And I'm trying to ask myself, how is the everyday Nigerian going to get access, or at least some of us get, because we can, maybe organizations, NGOs help, but even then, how?
Well, the challenge is the fact that we are hopeful that it gets to a point where the government can have it and can have it subsidized. As a matter of fact, we are hopeful that with all the interventions from government can help that. But as of now, when we put together the cost of the fact that if you want to go and have it outside the country, or that you're going to go through the hotel, the flight, and all that, and you have it domiciled within, where you can easily go in, have it done, and go out, you'll find out that having it locally it's like, by the time we did an estimate, it's like a quarter of what it would cost you to go and have it done, like in Dubai, or like in South Africa, is even like 20% of what it would cost you. I mean, having it at home and having it there. But the range is in the range of the hundreds of thousands actually for one individual. So and considering the fact that the individual has to pay out of pocket. I mean, so what we encourage our colleagues and people is that it's not everybody that will benefit from prostate cancer from the PET CT. So because of the cost, it has to actually have seen a specialist and oncologist who will be able to have tried and say that, okay, this individual will benefit from it. So it's not like an all-common affair. It's not like a walk-in test and something that an individual can just think, well, I think I should just go and do this routinely. No, I mean, it's like an end of care or like high-level decision to be made by at least somebody that knows his left from his right concerning the care of cancer. And I must mention the fact that it's not only in cancers that the PET CT is very important. It's also used in very stubborn inflammations in some other conditions like some seizure disorders and other things, and also in some people that have the need to have like a cardiac bypass and all that. But the beautiful thing about PET is that it's a top of line decision making imaging activity. It's not an all common affair. So if like maybe like 10 people or 15 people have cancers, for example, of that 15, maybe only 3 or 4 will qualify for PET CT. So so in that way, that also reduces the burden about but in order to do a proper staging for baseline for virtually everybody to know what we're actually doing, so that we'll not be imaging the chest and actually the disease already in the liver, or imaging the liver and the disease already in the lungs, or there's a locking lymph nodes or increased activity somewhere.
That is where I was coming from before. You see, we're getting home now. I was getting to okay. Okay, so now we understand that, as we know the benefits of medical procedures on the cancer journey. There's the surgery. There are very many stages, and we've gone through a lot of it on the channel. Procedures outweigh side effects. Yeah,
absolutely.
So in which case, so that is the PET scan is as therefore. What is it as how is it associated with side effects? Is that side effect pass is the one I'm now at?
Okay, good. Now the beautiful thing is that PET is like one of the advantages also of PET is that the side effects are very minimal because it is sugar that is labeled, and the sugar will break down over time. So, for example, if an individual is lactating, we always encourage that individual to breastfeeding, as is colloquially called. We always encourage that individual to have expressed the breast milk ahead of the treatment or the scanning or the imaging, such that for about 4 to 6 hours after the imaging, we're encouraging the individual not to get access to the baby, or if you have children, very little children below 2 years, not to go very close to them. Then also, if an individual is pregnant, we must be aware. We must do an analysis of the risk, whether it outweighs the benefit of having it scored, because the positron emission does not really have it travels a short distance. So it's not one of those that travel far and carries a lot of radioactive energy, carries very minimal radioactive energy. By the time it travels, almost about 0.55 milli electron volts like carrying, 511 milli electron volts like carrying. It just gets reduced in activity. So basically, the side effects are very minimal. It's laced by glucose. The body makes use of glucose every day. The body has an established way of excreting glucose every day. So what we just encourage people is that if they have to use the toilet, particularly immediately after the test, they should have it flushed like twice. That's all.
Okay. And one of the last things I'm going to ask, which is how we're going to move forward, because for us to be able to navigate the CT process, I'm very mindful that awareness is central to understanding the cancer journey. Awareness is central to support. We are now in a space where we have to take cognizance of cancer awareness, the campaign, which is really what I drive as a person, Common Cancer Foundation. And if we're going to drive it, give me 2 things that you would say would be the top 2 things that you would advise us, because we're not medics. A lot of us that do the cancer foundations in Nigeria are either survivors or people that have family that live with it. Yeah, that's the majority of the funding that goes into it. So with that in mind, give me 2 things, 2 straight things that we can work with, because people watch this and they can help the society. We need to grow our society. We have to be positive, not negative. So 2 things that you think we can do to make a difference.
Now, the first thing is the fact that the awareness should continue, particularly with the key opinion leaders in the society. And, the foundations are doing a very great job, but we should keep at it. That's the first thing. The key opinion leaders must step up, they must take it a gauntlet, and they must face it. That cancer is a diagnosis that is not a death sentence. That's number one. And the fact is that people need support. We cannot continue to pay out of pocket for cancer care. Everywhere in the world where there's a movement away from people coming in advanced cases is because they do not pay out of pocket. People that are having challenges with the day-to-day living cannot cope with out-of-pocket expenses. So the first thing is that the key opinion leaders must take the bull by the horn and step forward. The second is that there must be a dynamic change from out-of-pocket expenditure. There must be an intervention.
You actually said my exact ending, because to be honest with you, that is what this is all about. A lot of the time we're talking about this cancer journey, and today it is the key to the 2 points you've made. Why should we pay the cost? It is very expensive. For all of us that go through this journey, we have to pay the medicals, we have to pay our diets change, our mental health goes down, our emotions are scattered, and we still have to deal with this. And at the back of our mind, whether people like to hear what I'm saying or not, there is still the fear we may not make it. So for that reason, we are trying to do a positive. So government, positive. Help us to get through to the public. Help us, the NGOs, help us survivors to access funds that we need every day. There's budget out there, we're not seeing it. We need it, please. Go on to our social media platforms. You can donate, you can participate, you can volunteer with Commonwealth Cancer Foundation to help us get this message through. Cancer is real. Cancer awareness is a fundamental driver to make us change the narrative in Nigeria. Follow us on any of our social media platforms, Instagram, Facebook, our website. You can watch our videos. You can go on our PayPal's, our Nigeria. You can find anything you want on us on our website. It's all there. And to AIT, we want to say thank you very much for actually continuously dedicating your sponsorship to this drive and making a difference, because it is reaching homes and we are getting feedback of the messages that you are taking out. Dr. Ololade, thank you for this morning, and thank you for your time, and thank you for engaging with us in this conversation as we get back our hosts, AIT, to come on and finish up this segment with us.
All right, thank you very much, Dr. Dennis Joe, for thanking AIT. Definitely, we will not stop. We will continue to support the fight against cancer.
Yes, indeed, Dr. Dennis, you have a lot of fans. Some people are, sending in messages saying, "Oh, Dr. Dennis, can you please talk to us about prostate cancer? Men too have issues. Can you please? Do we have numbers we can reach you? Emails?" So I think maybe the feedback for them would also create some sort of leveraging on the conversations you've had. So maybe it's a thought. Yeah.
Thank you. I think you have all that on your system of our. So it's Commonwealth Cancer Foundation, and you can find us on Instagram, Facebook, DM us, email. You can even do CEO at Commonwealth Cancer Foundation. I will get it, even if any of them.
Fantastic.
I will get it. Fantastic. And it's the same CEO at Commonwealth Cancer Foundation, .org. I will get your messages. Our phone line, we have a phone line, it's working. Just reach out, because honestly we can, and yes, we are trying. That's why we actually made a point today, because I just had the surgery 3 weeks ago, and I thought, no, let me tell the truth now. I've just had brain surgery. It's not easy, so let me just confess my own sins and say, you know what,
look at you.
It is hard, but let us. So prostate is coming up. Don't worry, we don't miss the big ones. Ovarian is coming up. We're not missing. The next one we're doing is endometriosis.
Endometriosis, yes.
Exactly. See, they're not English. I don't know it. So that apparently is a big one for Afro-Caribbean women. Nigerians, women. It's actually something that is a big concern now. So we're going to be talking about that in our next program.
Well done.
I think what we'll also do is display the numbers so that it will also, people can reach out to you. I think they also want some live conversation. I don't know if that will be possible, but we'll see how we make all of these happen to make the program more engaging.
All done.
Live program.
All right.
Thank you so much.